Erica Beckner, as you may already know, and today I will talk about concussions. More about concussions. Did you know that 4 to 5 million concussions happen yearly? What I will talk about during this speech is how people get them, risks in sports, and higher risk sports for concussions, and symptoms of a concussion, because there are many and it is important to know them. How people get them. You can get them by an injury, which normally happens in sports. For example, if you are playing football and you get tackled and there's an injury on the play, you may have a concussion if you hit your head. Or just by falling. Many older people may get them by falling down the stairs. They are most common in sports, though. The brainstem, if you get a concussion, your brainstem may touch your skull, which is not supposed to happen. And that is how many concussions happen. The brainstem is right here, and obviously you guys have probably seen this before in pictures. That's your skull. So if your brainstem comes up and is able to touch your skull, that is a more serious concussion as compared to others. Risks in sports / high risk sports. 19% per season. So 19% of your players will get a concussion per the season that goes on. In order of the higher risk sports, there's rugby, which is kind of obvious because there's not really any rules. You're just out there and you tackle people and you go for the ball. Ice hockey, that's understandable too. You're pushing people around. American football, lacrosse, soccer, wrestling, basketball, softball, and field hockey are tied, and baseball and cheerleading and volleyball. More about football concussions. And a football player gets a concussion in the NFL, it can be a huge, depending on how serious the concussion is, it could be a huge game changer to their career, and which would not be good because that could end their career, which is like $1 million that they get every day. Symptoms of a concussion. Main symptoms of a concussion are headaches, cognitive functions, so just like normal functions that you have every day. Bad coordination, so that could be walking. Pupil dilation, so if you're the black thing in your eye, that's your pupil, and if it's dilated, then that is not good. Nausea, for example, like throw up. Blurry vision if you can't see well. Bruising, whether that's on your head, internal bruising, anything like that. Emotional, a lot of people when they have concussions, they're a lot more emotional to things than they normally would be. Slow and mumbled speech, so that kind of goes along with cognitive function. If it's when you talk, everything's mumbled and you can't really get words out good, that can be a big sign of a concussion and more of a serious one. Sleep patterns, for example, if you're stutter sleeping, if you keep waking up then going back to bed, that's not very good, and that can also be a very serious thing that you would need to look into more. Headaches are a big part of concussions. I had a concussion my freshman year of high school, and headaches were a big part. But what many people don't know is that you can actually, depending on where your concussion took place, on where you hit your head, you can have it in the lower temporal of your brain or the frontal temporal of your brain. And so this is the back and that's the front, obviously. And so it's very important to stay quiet and keep off screens as much as you can when you have a concussion, because that is just going to enhance your headache even more, and headaches hurt really bad when you have a concussion. A summary slide. So I talked about how people get them, risks in sports, high risk sports, symptoms of a concussion. Stay safe if you can at all costs. Try to always prevent getting concussion. Obviously you can't prevent everything, but do as much as you can to just stay out of situations that could be more costly. For example, if you're playing volleyball and your set is tight on the net, just don't risk going up and taking your highest hit off of that. Just let it go and you can move on to the next match, or just free it over. Don't come back too soon, because if you decide that you just want to get back on the court, that's definitely understandable, because that's how I was my freshman year. But if you come back too soon before you are cleared, you can actually cause worse things than concussion, and you could have way more serious symptoms than you had in the beginning, which would honestly take a longer recovery process than it did before. Here's images of a concussion and how it can work. So you can obviously be whipped to either side of your head or in the front or the back. And that's just kind of how it works. And that is the end. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.